All right, happy early afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining another installment of College Conversations. As a reminder, this is going to be recorded and later posted on our website. We will go to Q&A at the end. So if there's something at that time that we don't want to talk about in a recorded session, we're going to stop the recording ahead of the Q&A session just to make sure we have that time. My name is Matt Wallace. I serve as Vice President of Education and Career Pathways at Granite Edvance. College Conversations is a series that we're doing this summer to try to bring information about the colleges and universities right in your own backyard here in New Hampshire to you all. So whether you're a student trying to think about your next step, a parent supporting a student, a school counselor, a community-based organization member who advises a lot of students, we just want to have you hear from the best and from the people who know the best at each institution a little bit about what each school adds. I will note that Granite Advance is hosting this, but we don't endorse one specific pathway, whether career or right to workforce or any specific institution on the other side. But really psyched to be joined today by my friend, Mike Wilus, Director of Admission at Plymouth State. Mike, love for a little introduction so people can know who you are, and then I'll get right into the meat and potatoes of this whole thing.
Thanks, Matt. I'm excited that you put this together and able to share some information about Plymouth State. I've been serving at Plymouth State now for, I want to say, 10 years. I started working with transfer students, now currently serve as our Director of Admissions. I also work in athletics as our head men's lacrosse coach. So I wear lots of hats around here, pretty well on Plymouth State. But yeah, just really excited to be here and excited to chat with you.
Awesome. Well, Mike, I always kind of start off with a conversation question that's like really broad, right? I think probably for people in New Hampshire watching this, they've heard of Plymouth State. But if they've only heard the name, they don't really know what Plymouth State is all about. Let's do high level. Tell us a little bit about PSU, what type of student thrives there, things that make PSU stand out.
Yeah. I think there's, for me, like when I have these conversations with families, throughout New Hampshire, New England, across the country, like our location up here at the foothills of the White Mountains, just west of the Lakes region, like it's a really special part of the country. And I think the students that really thrive here, they tend to immerse themselves with everything that is Plymouth and the surrounding area, whether it's the ski resorts, the rock climbing, the mountain biking, the fishing. Really, like if you love being in the outdoors, this is just an incredible place to spend 4 years, study, get a great education. So I think the location is something I think that's really unique to Plymouth and just where we're located. But also, and the part that I've really come to love about Plymouth, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm from a major city, and we moved up here, and the community that is the Plymouth and surrounding area is really special. It's a town where people care about each other. They care about this university. And you feel that whether you're on campus, you're on our main street with all the shops and restaurants. So I think, when you think about a place where you can really feel at home and part of a community and just a beautiful part of the country, like that's, what I think separates Plymouth from some other institutions.
Yeah, it's funny. We have a kind of similar path. I wasn't in Philadelphia. I wasn't in quite a big city, but I grew up just outside of Manchester, New Hampshire. Went to Plymouth from undergrad, and then never left the area because that community and that like location in the state is just fantastic. And really, I think you spoke to that really well. So as the students think about Plymouth, right? Talk to us about the admissions process, right? We've had a number of conversations in College Conversation series over the summer, and every school does a little different. So can you talk us through what a student should know about the admissions process at PSU?
Yeah. And I think the admissions process can be confusing. Um, but I think what we try to do at Plymouth is to make it as easy as possible for folks to understand, whether it's the first time someone in your family is going to college and you're kind of leading that charge, or everyone in your family is going to college and you're kind of just part of that process. But we are rolling admissions, and what that means is when you apply, within 2 weeks, we're going to try to get a decision out to you. And what's great about that is, it's you're going to say Plymouth is on my list. I'm going to apply there, and we're going to get you that answer pretty shortly. So that's what rolling admissions means. When it comes to what we require, obviously college transfer or high school transcripts up and through your junior year of high school. So everyone that is going into their senior year thinking about applying to colleges, as of right now, our application is open, and you're able to start that process. You'd work with your school counselor to send your high school transcript. We do request one letter of recommendation, preferably from like an academic source, not your aunt that has known you for 30 years, a teacher, a school counselor. We do not require any type of test score, SATs, ACTs, but we do require a college essay, which is usually part of your common application, or we have a in-house application. If Plymouth State's your number one school, you know it already, you're coming to Plymouth, you can use that Panther application, and they can both be found on our website.
Awesome. So I think it's really interesting that you all don't use early action, early decision, regular decision. You just strictly live into that rolling process. Can you kind of talk through the rationale for why that is?
Yeah, I think that we want students to feel engaged in the process from the day they apply. So we want to make sure that when you're sitting, sending that application, you're not just waiting around thinking, like when am I going to hear from Plymouth State? Those students that are applying, we want them to get their decision so they can kind of start to feel like they're a part of this community. When they visit campus, they're like, I've already been accepted here. So now when they get that feeling of like, wow, this could be the place, like they know they've been accepted, they know what kind of merit scholarship they're going to get, rather than visiting and then waiting for that in November or December.
I like that. And do you all do direct admission process in any way?
We do. So we work with Common App and Niche on their direct admissions. So there's a separate process for both of those that most of your school counselors will be pretty versed on. If you are on the Niche website and you have an account and you search for Plymouth State, there's a really easy process where there's like an onboarding form. You'll need to still send us your transcripts to get the official acceptance, but you could go on that website and say, these are my qualifications right now. Would I be accepted to Plymouth State? And you'd be able to get that answer there. So there's a way to kind of filter those results.
Awesome. I think an important thing to underscore there is that if you do get the direct admission offer, there's still more steps to take, right? I think
Right.
some of the conversations we've heard with families around Granite Edvance is I got direct admitted, then I didn't hear anything from the school, or they felt like the process was kind of clunky. So just making sure you know there's next steps to formalize that
Correct.
admissions
Yeah.
process. That's the same at Plymouth.
Same at Plymouth. Yep.
All right, so students been admitted. Talk to us about financial aid at Plymouth, right? Like, when do they hear about merit awards, need-based awards? How do they access all those pieces?
Yeah. So this is something that I think Plymouth does really well. It's not a mystery. And I think you talk to a lot of families, they apply, and then there's this mystery of like, how much merit award am I going to get?
Hmm.
Where at Plymouth, when you get your acceptance letter, in your letter, it'll be outlined the exact merit awards that you'll receive. In New Hampshire, you can get up to $10,000 in merit scholarships. Some are based on academic performance, so off your high school GPA. Others are based on if you're going to be living on campus or not, or when you file your FAFSA. So there's lots of different ways to that. And we love having those conversations. If you're interested in that, you can reach out to our department, come visit campus. And we can kind of talk to you more about where, we think that you would fall. But you do get that information up front in your acceptance letter. After that, we have a really robust need-based aid, and that's all through when you file your FAFSA, which is the student aid website run by the federal government. You complete the FAFSA form, Plymouth State intakes that form, and then awards you need-based aid. So that is on top of whatever merit aid you would have already received through the admissions process. Usually, depending on when you submit your FAFSA, the earlier you can, submit that, I think the smoother the process is for students. So really encourage families to, when the FAFSA opens, usually in October, um, try to start working on that. That way, there's a possibility we can get your full award package. So outlining everything in merit and need-based aid to you by the holidays. So you guys can start having those conversations when everyone's home and in the house.
That's awesome. And does Plymouth have any of the tuition guarantee style programs or Pell programs?
Yeah, great question. So in the state of New Hampshire, there's a program called the Granite Guarantee, which basically says if you receive any amount of Pell through the FAFSA process, we would meet your cost of tuition at Plymouth.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really, really groundbreaking. And can families do that? Do they have to live on campus for it, I should say?
Nope, you do not need to live on campus. It's for any new student. And that's like the one thing. If you came to Plymouth and you left Plymouth, and you're coming back to Plymouth, that's not always the case. But if you are a new student, whether a transfer or a first year, so directly out of high school, and you're new to Plymouth State, you can be awarded the Granite Guarantee if you meet those requirements.
Nice. That's awesome. Because I know some of the programs you see, I've seen like 100,000 AGI, free tuition, like they have that on-campus requirement. So it's really nice that Plymouth is offering that to anyone who meets that Pell eligibility. So
Correct.
they can figure out the financing and the creative ways it may work for them.
Correct. Yeah, if you live within a commutable distance, and your plan is to live at home and commute and take classes here, that program would still apply if you meet that financial need.
That's awesome. All right, so kind of a little bit further through the student's experience, right? So they've admitted the finances work for them. They're now a student at Plymouth. What's like the day in the life? I know that's a tricky question when you have thousands of students, but like on average, what's like a student's experience at Plymouth?
Yeah, so I think, one thing about Plymouth, like Plymouth, and we talked about this earlier, like Plymouth is a community, right? This is a school that students live here, they study here, they spend their weekends here. And I think it's unique in a way that there's a lot of schools now where students are coming to campus, they're leaving campus, they're studying online. Plymouth is a in-person, you're going to build real relationships, real friendships. And I think that's something that can't be missed in the college experience when you're thinking about going to school. I believe you learn so much from being here and being on this campus outside of the classroom. And I think that really plays into like a day of the life. We have classes that start at 8 a.m. We have classes that run until 6 p.m., but the bulk of our classes are from, 8 to 4 o'clock. Students will take 2 to 3 classes a day. In the evenings, we have a really robust club and organization program. I always tell one story when I was, just beginning my process of interviewing myself to work here at Plymouth State. I would, meet a bunch of students, throughout the interview process, and I would ask everyone, what do you do here besides go to class? And I thought it was really indicative of the campus culture that every single student I talked to, they were in this club, they were part of student government, they were a tour guide, they were an athlete. Everyone I talked to was involved some way with the campus outside of just going to class. And I think that's something that you can't overstate how important that is to a campus experience and a campus culture.
Awesome. And for a student who's there, right, maybe they're what's hypothetically in their first semester, freshman year, and that transition from high school to college has been tricky, right? What kind of supports are there for students from academic to interpersonal, and then maybe further down the road for career-wise?
Yeah. I think that being a school of, just around 3,000 students, we kind of say it's that perfect size where it allows for that social aspect and, meeting new people, seeing new faces. But on the flip side, right, like it is small enough where it's really easy to get connected with resources when you're struggling. We have academic and career advising. Your faculty like know who you are. They know when you're not in class. We have a counseling center on campus. If you're dealing with some kind of mental health crisis where you really need to talk to someone, there's fully staffed office here. to support students in, whatever they're going through in their life. But I think if you reach out and you connect with someone, there's not a staff member, a faculty member on this campus that won't go out of their way to make sure that you're feeling supported and getting what you need to be successful here, whatever that means, whether it's outside the classroom or in the classroom.
Awesome. And do you all offer like a career services for students who are graduating and getting to transition out or help finding an internship, those sorts of things?
Yeah, and it's not just for those that are graduating, right? Like, it's a pretty comprehensive program. There's a academic and career advising center that's right in the heart of campus, and they help with all that stuff. Whether it's I need help building a LinkedIn page because I want to start connecting with folks. I have an interview coming up. Like, what should I expect? So they'll hold mock interview sessions. And I think the one of the things, and we kind of just touched on this, like we have a really small student to faculty ratio. And sometimes those professors, that you're creating those connections with, you're excelling in their class, they might have those connections in industry where I want to work in this field. I know that you have some experience. How can you help me get connected? And I think a lot of that happens organically. That way, it's one thing, and we'll probably talk about some specific academic programs as this conversation goes on, but I kind of want to highlight our sales program. So we have a sales program within our school business, and the way that they're connecting students with employers is remarkable. Within their class, you might have an opportunity where an external employer comes in, they talk about what kind of services they provide, what kind of products they sell. In that class, you're going to learn about how to build rapport, how to build relationships, how to use data. Those companies then come back and our students role play one-on-one as if they're working for the company and that representation is the client. And every year we hear stories of students getting jobs, internships, like on the spot from those experiences. So I just want to highlight that as something that's really unique. That's not really in the career center, or it's not this like abstract connection. Like, it's something that's happening on a semester basis for our students within the class that they're actually taking.
That's awesome. I love how it's embedded right into the curriculum and that they don't actually have to, in all cases, they don't have to go looking for it, right? It kind of comes to them. And I know that's probably not the case in every single class, but
Yeah,
that for some of those classes that you're using the industry connections the professors have to bring those opportunities straight into the fold.
correct. Yeah.
So I think that's a good segue into what are some of the programs, academic features that you think you want to highlight about Plymouth that are kind of must know or maybe fly under the radar, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, like I love talking about our nursing program.
mhm.
We've had some remarkable success with our graduates. We love to talk about our NCLEX pass rate, which is the nursing board exam. Every nurse in the country has to pass that exam to practice. And we've had 100% NCLEX pass rate the last 6 years, which is really says a lot about the faculty that are in that program, the effort that those students put in to be prepared, and then the facilities that are here. We just built a brand new nursing facility, new simulation labs, so it's state of the art, and it's really fun to walk students up there, to meet with those faculty, to connect with those students. Plymouth is doing a really good job working with nursing students. I touched on our sales program. I think that in the ever-changing business environment, in the news, you can't go a day without reading about how AI is going to take everyone's jobs, right? And I think if you really think about what skills are important, right, and what skills are going to really rise to the top in the future, it's people that are going to be able to build relationships, make connections, that are really going to excel, in my opinion. And I think that what our students are learning through that sales curriculum, like it's exactly that. So I love to talk about that. Health sciences in general, exercise, sport physiology here. If you want to be a strength and conditioning coach, if you want to be a doctor of physical therapy, we have a 3+3 accelerated pathway to become a therapist, physical therapist. So they're doing an unbelievable job there. We've seen a lot of positive impact of that program. And then psychology is one of those fields that you see a lot of students that are like, I'm interested in psychology, like how the human brain works, how, the human connection works. And I talk to a lot of students and I say, like, that's great. What do you like? Do you want to practice in the field of psychology? And they're usually like, yeah. So with that, like you have to know that you need a professional degree, right? To be a health counselor or a school counselor or a school psychologist. And Plymouth is I believe, the only school in the state that offers those programs. And we have accelerated pathways into them. So in 5 years instead of 6 years, you can become a clinical mental health counselor. You can become a school counselor. That's something that's really unique about that program is every school offers psychology, but no one else has that pathway to actually practice in the field of psychology, which I think is really unique about Plymouth. And then on the outskirts, meteorology is a pretty niche program that we have. We have a meteorology institute, um, adventure education. If you're a student that just is like, I love the outdoors, I want to work with students in, youth rehabilitation in the outdoors. That's something that, is pretty unique to hear. And obviously because of our location, we're able to really immerse students in that.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say adventure education in Plymouth. It feels like a prime match. What is a misnomer of Plymouth that you'd like to set straight, right? Like there's something that always comes up and you're like, man, I really wish people would stop believing X. And this is
Yeah.
tell
I
us.
I think that I have a conversation with a lot of kids, like choosing between a public institution and a private institution. And there's this, thought out there that this private education is better. And I wholeheartedly believe in our public school system in the state of New Hampshire. The resources, the programs, the connections, the alumni base is really strong. And I think that you're seeing our graduates be really successful after graduation. And I think that that's just it's this continual fight, amongst the perception that's out there about public higher education compared to, a private school. And I would say if you're choosing between a small private school and a regional public school, like you should really think about, what the actual program and outcomes are at both those institutions, because I would put a lot of our programs up against any of them in terms of outcomes.
Awesome. I think that's a really good point, and especially when your family's wearing finance, right? College has become one of the bigger financial decisions you're going to make over the course of your life. So, really looking at, as you said, the return on investment and what those outlays are going to be. All right, last question. Somebody's thinking about Plymouth. They are not sure. They're on the fence. What's your advice to them?
Come visit. I think that if once students step on this campus and they kind of feel the life that's here, they feel the community, they feel the connection, like you got to get up here and check it out. And I think that's our biggest driver in terms of students deciding that they want to choose Plymouth State. You
Hmm.
hear every cycle, you hear students like, why'd you come here? I came for a visit and it just felt like home. And I think that is my advice, no matter what school you end up enrolling at, like get out there and visit schools. Because I think if you talk to anyone that went to college and you say like, why, what was your deciding factor? They're like, that place just felt right. And that's you can't put any number on that. Like it's when it feels right, it feels right. And I really believe Plymouth has that community up here that a lot of students feel like this is going to be the right place for me to succeed.
Awesome. And for anybody who's seen multiple episodes of College Conversations, that advice continues to ring true, right? It's everybody's saying like you need to make sure you've experienced the place that you're going to spend the next 4 years. So, Mike, as we wrap up, anything else that you feel like we went over too quickly, or we feel like we haven't covered that you want to touch on about Plymouth?
No, I think it's out there. If there's things that kind of caught your eye or caught your ear, reach out to us, come visit. We'd love to show you around. And I really appreciate everyone tuning into this. And thanks, Matt, for having us.
Awesome. Mike, if you don't mind dropping maybe your email into the chat for the viewers if they um, want to reach out directly to you. And as he does that, I will just say thank you for tuning once again to College Conversations. I have enjoyed these conversations. We have a few more coming up next week. And this recording will be on our YouTube channel by the end of this week and to on our website sooner, a little bit after that. We're going to go to private Q&A right now so that if anybody has questions that they want to ask without being on the recording for the whole internet to see, we'll have that opportunity. So heading there now, and thank you again.